Okay, welcome to February. It is February. This is the month of love. It's the month of love. The whole month. It's not just one day, it's a whole month. And in this month of love, we're going to explore all the ways that the power of love is at work in our lives, whether we realize it or not, and how to become more aware of it. We will find ways to welcome love more fully into our lives this month so that we can live more fully and to allow that healing power of love into all aspects of our life. Sound good? All right. So the universe has given me an opportunity recently to find and to call forth that power of love into my life for myself and for those that I love. So I think maybe it was a couple years, since the pandemic, I can't tell if it was a couple months ago or a couple years ago. Really, it probably was a couple years ago. I did a talk about riding the waves, right? Rather than to be swallowed up by the waves of life, grab a surfboard and ride the waves of life. And that was inspired by my brother, who is a surfer, who has been a surfer all of his life. We grew up in San Diego, so he had a perfect opportunity to learn to surf. And we moved to San Diego after my father died. He died young. I was 5, and my brother was 12. Smartest thing my mother did is to move us there. And, in Southern California in the 70s, there were plenty of opportunities to pursue a spiritual path. There were a lot of really interesting things that were happening there. And my mom worked at the university, so there was also a lot of wonderful classes that you could take, and people were experimenting, and there were meditation classes and yoga and alternative spirituality. So our whole family really kind of jumped into that exploration. And part of it, I think, was we have a half-sister who was, I really am the baby. She was already out of the house and married when I came into the picture. And she gave us a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda. If you know about that, right? I think my brother read it first, and then I read it, and it really just sort of opened the door to the possibilities. And so we were exploring this. We began meditating together, and my mother and I found a community in San Diego. It was kind of unity, but a little more alternative. We did some kind of interesting things there, esoteric things, right? And then my brother, he was kind of in college at this point, and so he followed his own path, and he found a spiritual community in Escondido, and finally they kind of moved to Long Beach. It was up the coast, north of San Diego, and that community was a little isolated, closed. And so there was a period of time that we didn't see him, that he did not come home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was just, it was a difficult period, particularly for my mom. And then that guru leader of that community passed away, and that community fell apart. So we saw him again. And so through the years, my brother and I have been always close in our heart, a close bond. We have seen each other on and off, usually for family gatherings. Also, when my mom was experiencing cancer and went through that challenging experience and made her transition, we got really close. And then when my kids were born, we also spent time together. So, on and off, we've had this really close relationship, and in the last few years, we haven't really seen each other, called each other much, but he would send me a card every holiday, and, I knew he was there, and in my heart and mine and his. And this Christmas, I had the thought I should call my brother. I should call him. And I didn't. And I got to tell you, if you ever have the thought to call a relative, don't ignore it. Do. You never know when it could be the last time. So I got a call on December 28th that my brother had a massive stroke, and he was in the hospital. And Chris, will you do me a favor and hand me my water bottle, please? Thank you. He's still there. It's this one, thank you. It's what they call a hemorrhagic stroke. I never even heard what that was, but it's severe. And he's there, and he's on a feeding tube, and he really doesn't have much. I went out to Los Angeles and saw him, and we spent a day, and I was there, and he was awake, and we connected, and he smiled, and I played songs that he loved, and he smiled, and I FaceTime our sister together, and he was smiling, so I know that there was, something there. And so because I am the only blood relative, the full blood relative, the medical decisions are falling on me. And all of the other areas of his life. Fortunately, he lived simply. He lived a simple life, so it's not too entangled, So this situation has brought me to my knees. It has brought me to my knees. And, I'm living in this place of the unknown. Why did this happen? Strong, healthy, vibrant, athletic, sweet man. Not that old. Why did it happen? How did it happen? What's going to happen now? And so I've gotten to that place where I realize I can't fix the unfixable. I know how I'd like to have it fixed. I can't fix the unfixable. So my only choice now is to surrender. And that's not a bad choice. I talked about surrender in December. If you'll remember, we talked about mystical spirituality, and I talked about surrender and how we get to the place where we finally let go of our tight grip on what we think is right, what we think should be, what we think should happen, and our need to tell God how to fix it. You ever had that? God, I have an idea or two about how this can be fixed. Right? That need. So what we are surrendering, as I mentioned in that talk in December, what we're surrendering is the ego, the smallest part of us, the part of us that thinks it knows what's right, that thinks it's got it all figured out, right? That we're surrendering the least effective part of us. And when we surrender that larger divine self that we are can emerge, can lead the way. We can let love lead the way. And so I'm in this place right now of deep surrender. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe you're there now. What I know is it's the place of our greatest learning. It can be the place of our greatest growth because we're teachable. Our rice bowl is empty. So I talked about a few weeks ago, that rice bowl, it's empty. We're teachable. We have an opportunity and a need to dive more deeply into our spiritual practices, to learn more spiritual practices, to surround ourselves with loving, supportive people, to open to prayer, to learn to pray for ourselves and others, to learn how to be in that place of surrendered peace and love, and to say that out and know that that other person is embraced in that space. And that space is intertwined with moments of the human experience of pain. You know, this human journey can be painful. God, I think of the mother, Tyree Nichols' mother, and how she knew that her son was calling her name when he was being beaten to death. You know, I mean, God, what pain. And you're tempted to think, what? You know, what? And I've been hearing the song in my head over and over. Bonnie Raitt has a song with the line that says, "Why the angels turn their back sometimes. It's a mystery to me." And then, in the next moment, I have a deeper awareness. I can connect with a higher understanding, a higher awareness. And I hear the song of Loveland-Coen where the line about there's a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in. You know, there's a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in. Light is what we crave at this time. Because light is who we are. We are light. And when the human self cracks open, we have access to that light. We have access to the light that we are. We can experience it. Oh, we're so much more than these physical bodies with a brain that works real hard to try to figure it out, to try to, judging everything, interpreting everything, usually incorrectly. Barnsley Brown was talking last week about how we take a neutral event and we make up a story about it. We make up a story, usually unconsciously, and then we become the stories we make up. And all the while, there is this light being that we are, that is here, waiting for us to break open and experience it. And to know it more deeply. Know that we're the light. Know that everyone else is light. And the more deeply that we can experience and embody that light, the more deeply we can embody that love that we are, the more we can help others awaken. We can radiate that light out to the world to help others awaken. I was reading this morning in Science of Mind magazine. It was Ernest Holmes that wrote this. It says, the key that unlocks the treasures of the kingdom of good is in my hand. I unlock the doorway of my consciousness and gently open it that divine presence may flood my whole being with light. Illumine my being with its radiant glow and direct my footsteps onto the path of peace and joy. Oh, that spoke to me. That spoke to me. And, it comes in moments of grace. Moments of such grace that you just can't ignore that the divine is in there. When someone offers you a helping hand, when a bed becomes available in a hospital that's closer to my brother's spiritual community so people can visit more often, when I'm searching desperately for some information I need and can't find it, and someone calls out of the blue and says, I have the answer, I have some information. When you get a feeling of uplift, of like sudden uplift, and you go, wow, somebody must be praying for me right now. Have you ever had that? Somebody must be praying for me right now. When you have the opportunity to bury your bare feet in warm sand while you're watching the sun set into the ocean, painting the sky beautiful orange and purple and blue and pink, and you just think, this is God loving me. This is when these moments of grace, this is God loving us. Right? Holding us. And those moments of grace is the key that unlocks that unlocks that window, that door, so that we can experience the light that we are. So we can experience that. But the thing is, we got to recognize it, right? We have to recognize it. We have to look for it. We have to notice it. And then when we notice it, we want to be grateful for it. The more we recognize it and notice it and are grateful for it, the more it starts showing up in our lives. Moments of grace. So, I think I know how the healing power of divine love should look, how it should be. I think I should know, The healing power of love should be complete recovery. I think we all have ideas about what the healing power of love should look like in our lives and others' lives, right? But here's the thing, we're seeing it from such a narrow keyhole. We can't see the whole vast picture, the whole eternal, universal picture. We're seeing only a little tiny fraction, only a little portion from our limited human perspective. How could we possibly know? And so my prayer now, my mantra, my affirmation is, I do not resist this situation. I put it in the hands of divine love and wisdom. I let the divine idea come to pass. I let the divine idea come to pass. That really helps me stop trying to manipulate it and try and fix it and just release and step back and let the universe be the glorious expression that it is, even though I can't see it right now. It helps me to surrender to the highest divine and guides my steps and guides my thinking. That's the healing power of love at work in my life. So let's affirm together, the healing power of love is at work in my life right now. Together, the healing power of love is at work in my life right now. And let's say it for a loved one. The healing power of love is at work right now in my loved one's life. Together, the healing power of love is at work right now in my loved one's life. Breathe that in for a moment. Feeling that healing power of love. And we don't know what it looks like, but it feels good. We know that this universe is omnipotent, omnipresent, good. We're a part of that. Good is expressing in our lives, in our mind, our body, our lives, in this world. And you know, we're the angels. We are the angels with feet and hands here to help facilitate that, to be a blessing to others, to bring the light into the world, to be a presence of healing love. Namaste.